She's back. Oh my God, guys. She has risen. You're going to get full-blown Holly vibes today to make up for my MIA last, I don't know, has it been 2 weeks? It's been at least 3 episodes, including What's the Vibes, at least. And I will explain. I promise I will explain. Can I say one of the best things you can say to me, and I got this more than once in my DMs the last week, was I keep refreshing my podcast to see when your show is back. It's my favorite. Thank you. Shout out to you guys. It's my favorite too. And I've missed recording, but I went down and out. I went down hard with that Libra full moon. That was my own eclipse, and rightfully so, because it was my lunar return. I'll talk about that in a moment. We all go through those every year when the moon falls on our moon. And I knew it would activate me, but I did not foresee how much it did. And it's going to be great to actually speak this all out, piece it all together with you guys, because really, up until a few days ago, I have just been in bed. I have just been needing to call all my energy back to me. And this is a forever lesson for me. And I feel like anyone who works in any sort of energetic practice, I feel like creative work is counted in energetic practice because you're being fueled by your creative essence, which is energy. But anyone who works in any sort of energetic, healing, psychic, intuitive, channeling modality will know this. It's a constant remembering that when part of what you do in the world is to consistently draw on your own energy to give it to others, it runs out far quicker than if you worked a job that didn't require so much energetic weight. An example I can pull is my husband, right? He's a tradesman. He runs his own business. He's an electrician. He's been a tradie since, we left school, and, 20 plus years, or 20 years. Next year is our 20-year school reunion. I'll talk about that too. Wow. So for him, where it's taxing, his work taxes him physically. It's physical labor, it's manual labor. He is constantly on roofs, in like crawl spaces, like awful work. Do not envy him. And so the toll is on his physical body. And we can really appreciate that in someone who works a manual labor job. Similarly, someone who works a night shift, right? Our doctors, our nurses, our surgeons, anyone who works any sort of shift work, they are being taxed with their physical energy when it comes to sleep deprivation. And we can empathize with that and like bow down to that and just go, wow, how taxing is that on your physical body? What we don't maybe appreciate as much, mainly because people don't really understand this line of work, is just how energetically taxing it is to be constantly giving of your energy when you work. And the line that I keep having to draw with myself is I disregard the fact that I'm also a stay-at-home mother. My daughter is not in care. I get 4 hours of nanny time in Monday to Thursday, and then I work on a Friday, and then I work on a Saturday, and then I do the mothering around that. I have Trent helping me, which is amazing. And then it's kind of my Sunday, as in today, to fill myself up, which actually isn't enough time. And it's a season, right? It's not forever. When she goes to school, I'm going to have far more energetic capacity where I'm not going to be pulling from my own reserves as much. But what happened and what was illuminated to me in the past fortnight has been how much I have been overriding and giving my own energy freely, not just in work, because for work, the work I do, there is a fair exchange, right? So it's actually not as energetically taxing for me when I'm showing up for a reading or when I'm showing up for this podcast, because I consider this podcast, obviously, if you are a subscriber, you are paying for me to do this podcast. So thank you, thank you, thank you from the bottom of my heart. I cannot thank you enough. But also, I consider the podcast like it's kind of like my marketing, right? Whereas when I am giving from these energy reserves consistently and then in mothering, And then add on top of that friendship, which I do give above and beyond in my friendships. I am an autistic woman and reciprocity is real. And this is what I realized. It's not necessarily the case in neurotypical friendship, but in my case, I override my own needs and my own energetic capacity to show up for my people. And it has been this big awakening for me to go, hang on a second, I actually can't continue giving my energy so freely in so many different ways that I do at a cost to myself, because the only way that I fully fill myself up, and this is for me uniquely, everyone will be different, but I know this for me, and I knew this before I was diagnosed with autism, and then it was further amplified in the report, is I need to be alone. I need to be in quiet spaces. I need to be lying down. I need to have a weighted blanket on me. I need to be in darkness. Now, when you are the mother of a 4-year-old, you can imagine, or maybe you even know, that having moments to do that are few and far between. And so I'm actually running, it's kind of like the fuel shortage, but for myself is like, when am I actually optimizing filling my energy up so that I can benefit from my energy, so that I can feel good and in the way that I know my energy makes other people feel? Because that's the number one piece of feedback I get all the time from people is, oh my God, I just love your energy. I love the way it makes me feel. It's like, I love that that is my gift. And I love that that's how I'm here to serve in the world and how I'm here to generate an income for my family, which is a very important part of what I do. But at the same time, it's very rare that I get to experience what my energy feels like because I'm constantly giving it. And so that's been this big rumination point for me when the Libra full moon hit. So I'm going to kind of track what happened in the lead up to the moon and then what happened on the moon and the dream I had and the lessons that I'm unpacking and what's coming. Like, there's just been so much. And basically, it all started the 2 days before the Libra full moon. And as I said, we all go through our lunar return, which is when the full moon crosses your own moon sign. And the reason that that's more jarring than a new moon is the new moon always falls in the season of the sign it's in. So we have our new moon in Aries coming up this week, right? Now, a new moon energy is less intense than a full moon energy, energetically speaking, depending on other aspects to that moon. But for the most part, it's less intense because even though it's the dark moon and you can't see it in the sky, it amplifies energy that we're already existing in. It's not jarring in that we're familiar with that energy because we've been in it for a little while. Like, we've been in Aries season for a bit, right? So we kind of know what to anticipate with a new moon when it falls in the sign that you're already in. When it's the full moon, it's in the opposite sign. And so the Libra full moon for me, my moon sign being in Libra, was always going to activate me in another level because it falls in Aries season, and Aries energy is the opposite of my moon. Now, to remind you guys, your moon sign is your emotions. It's your inner world. It's what you process on the inside. It's not necessarily how people see you on the outside, unless you have the same sign as sun and moon. But for the most part, your moon sign is your inner world. It's how you're motivated. It's your emotional processing. It's anything that's been suppressed. It's your nervous system. It's also your intuitive language, right? So when the moon is in a full moon and that full moon is your moon sign, that is when it amplifies any shadow aspects of that moon, any shadow aspects of the sign that your moon is in. So for me, Libra, I know the shadow aspects of my moon sign are people pleasing, indecision, wanting to keep the peace, being a fence sitter, and Libra being the energy of relationships. So keeping the harmony in all relationships at a cost to myself, right? That's just been my constant challenge my entire life. It's why I've written my first two books. It's the first two books are written from a Libra moon, right? I also have my IC in Libra. I also have my Lilith in Libra. So that adds two levels of intensity, and they're all in the fourth house, which is of the home. So I actually have 3 Libra placements, not just my moon. So I did anticipate, okay, this moon is going to hit me. And especially because I initially thought it was exacting in terms of the degree point. I thought it was going to be exact my moon. It wasn't exacting my moon. But when it transited my exact moon, my goodness, We'll get to that. So a couple of days before the moon, I sat down and had my appointment with Emily Yates. So I told you guys that every year I do my blood tests and then I take them to Liv, my homeopath, and then Em, who is my naturopath. And I hadn't seen Em since February last year. And so we sat down and went through my bloods. And while there's been a lot of improvement in terms of my cortisol isn't as diabolical, it definitely is still through the roof. So this is why we sit down with practitioners to help us understand what the levels are that we're looking at. While I, hormonally looking okay, I definitely have low testosterone. So we want to increase that. While all of my markers were on the up, my inflammation has not been. And so I'm still in a very strong inflammatory response in my body. And chronic inflammation is something that I have dealt with since postpartum, and it's something that I am constantly working on in terms of supplementation and homeopathy. And for me, these bloods were a really good litmus test for me to go, okay, I haven't had any supplementation except for magnesium for the past 8 months. I dedicated everything into homeopathy. There was improvement for sure, but now it's time for me to go back with the supplements. And I do feel that that is an important part for me, at least when it comes to health, is giving myself and my body a break from things every now and then. Supplements aren't something that, in my opinion, we should rely on. We should be absorbing the nutritional qualities that we need from the food that we're eating, from the sunlight, the water that we're drinking, the electrolytes we have in our water, like all of these things we want to actually derive those qualities from first. But then there are cases, most of the time, where we are not absorbing or we're malabsorbing. I see it with my clients in readings all the time. I was thinking about it before. I'm like, do I need to really emphasize the fact that like majority of my readings are health readings, like psychic health stuff? I think it's because health has always been a thing for me. And so I'm able to pick up on health signs very easily in people. Anyway, I digress. So there were still a few things where she's like, no, 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 this isn't good for you. Like especially the low testosterone, the high inflammation, and the high cortisol. And so she's made some beautiful herbs for me to start taking, getting back on. There's about 8 supplements I'm taking. None of them I've actually taken before, which is really exciting. And you guys will laugh at this. I'll share it because we're friends. Em is very, very tapped in, strong Aquarius woman, very psychic. And she turns to me, and we haven't had an appointment in over a year. We chat every now and then on Instagram, but nothing like deep. And she said, have you changed your mind about having a baby? And I was like, oh, yeah, yeah. Well, Trina and I will probably think about looking at conceiving next year. And she laughed at me. She said, well, you better be careful if you want it to be next year, you better be careful because they're very close and they're in the room right now. And I was like, are you kidding? You're like the fifth intuitive person in my life who has told me this. She's like, she was laughing. She's like, yep. She's like, I feel a little girl very strongly, which is so interesting because I've had a 50-50 split when people have tapped in and told me without me asking. So fascinating. But she's like, little girl is here, and she's saying, put mum on a prenatal because I'm coming through. And I'm like, oh my God, this child. I mean, low-key can't wait to meet them because they are coming in hot and they've got a very determined little energy, but definitely not there yet. So that was just a funny, like, every month I'm being reminded they're in the field, they're in the field. I think if I just touch on that before I move on, um, why am I putting this off? It doesn't feel like I'm putting it off. One of the biggest things for me, I did say when it was coming to will we have another baby or not? You guys might remember I spoke about this in former episodes, was firstly, I wanted to feel that pull. I didn't want to just do it for the sake of doing it. And I definitely started feeling that pull at the beginning of the year. Not an urgency, just a, oh yeah, I could do that again. Secondly, I wanted to feel the presence of the soul, which I have definitely felt strongly. And then third, I just wanted to feel like the right time for us as a family financially with our home, because we are renting here as much as we want to stay here forever. With my little girl starting school next year, there's just a lot of big change in really wrapping our heads around adjusting from potentially, if we're lucky enough, becoming a family of 4 plus Lola, obviously. And so, yeah, we are not there yet. And another part of it for me is like there is still so much wounding and trauma I hold around even pregnancy now, just having witnessed what I witnessed with Leah last year. And I no, for me, the only way out is through. There's actually not more work I can do on it. I've done all the work until I'm blue in the face. I've done the work. And so it's just about my nervous system being in a capacity to hold the trauma and anxieties that will likely arise as I go through that journey again. And I just don't feel there yet. And I mean, even my bloods are showing like I don't want to conceive when my inflammatory markers are through the roof. I don't want to conceive when my cortisol is through the roof. I don't want to. Like, I just do not want to put my body under additional stress or pressure because I know that that will come. So that said, I am looking at private health insurance because I don't know if I told you guys, but I feel strongly next time I will go in for an elective C-section. My choice, not going to explain why, just choosing that for me, because of the trauma I do hold now around birth. And yeah, I need to have had that for 12 months before birthing. So you guys have any advice for the best private health cover? I saw one that could get me heaps of points with Virgin, but it was costing me like $1,000 more than another. Anyway, this is all just behind the scenes. So I had that appointment with M on the Tuesday, and the full moon was hitting on the Thursday. So that happened on the Tuesday. The Wednesday comes around, and I start to feel a simmering rage. Classic Aries, classic Aries, classic Libra too. The thing with Libra is Libra suppresses the rage. And the simmering rage was definitely around everything that we're navigating collectively and that we're seeing with, everything that's happening politically, geopolitically. And that Wednesday was the day, if you're in Australia, you'll know that the Prime Minister, like what's his name? No, the Prime Minister said, I'm going to be making an announcement at 7 o'clock tonight. And that's when I went ding, 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 red flags, red flags, red flags. And I know that I've spoken about this in a few What's the Vibe episodes where there's a lot of kismet patterns connected to the way things politically panned out in 2020 and the way that they look to be panning out this year. I will say 2 weeks ago, I was much more charged about it. I'm so curious about what this week will bring politically because I think timelines are shifting rapidly at the moment and I can't explain what it is. I don't know if it's Uranus moving out of Taurus into Gemini and it's like that lead up. There's this fast paced energy. And I don't know if you guys have felt it too, but it's like some days feel like months. Like I wake up, I can't believe it's only 3 o'clock right now. It feels like it should be like the next day. Even like my mornings are dragging out. And I know we have had daylight savings here in New South Wales, but there's just something happening with time at the moment. Like, without getting too philosophical about it and the meaning of time and does time exist, at the moment, time feels like it's bending and moving very quickly, and timelines are shifting rapidly. So, what I'm going to talk about now, I don't necessarily feel in my body today, but I did feel strongly 2 weeks ago, which was, oh, alarm bells are happening. They're going to warm us up to the potential for a fuel shortage type lockdown, which is, in my opinion, if there was any kind of lockdown, there's always an ulterior motive. Now, the anger started brewing inside me because of suppressed anger that I didn't let myself feel in 2020 and 2021. Because there was a lot that unfolded in those years that I watched and I spoke about in my private lives, but I didn't speak about publicly because I was so afraid, hello, Libra Moon, of what other people might think of me. I didn't want to be called names. I didn't want to be cancelled. Cancel culture was a very strong fucking thing back then. And even though I intuitively knew so much was off in what we were navigating during the time of 2020 and 2021, I never spoke about any of it publicly. And I feel that that suppression of my voice really, really created this like festering anger that I hadn't fully actualized and moved through. And for the most part, it was because I was pregnant during the lockdowns. We'd just moved up here. There was a lot navigating in our micro worlds. I was writing my first book. And I didn't want to be derailed by what was happening in the macro because there was so much going on in my micro. And I remember even removing myself from friend group chats that were talking about, the agenda at play with 2020. And I just couldn't absorb that information because it was creating too much stress in my physical body. So I think to a degree, I did what I needed to do to protect my own energy and be sovereign in my energy as I was navigating pregnancy for the first time and moving all of that through. That said, that those few years to be positioned as an other or a less than societally was it was awful. It was absolutely awful. And it was something that I think I was carrying a lot of shame around, definitely not anymore, to even question, the motives of the government, to even question, hang on, there's something bigger at play here. Like when everything with Epstein came out this year, I forgot that that wasn't common knowledge for people because that was what we were looking at in 2020. But I didn't even bring that up with my friends who are talking to me about it now and like, tell us everything you know. We trust you. We believe you. But back then, I was too afraid to be labeled a conspiracy theorist. So I just didn't speak it out with people other than, Trenny and our very close friends who were on the same wavelength. And like we were able to talk it out. And so there was a lot of even the fact, Trent and I didn't get a baby moon because there were lockdowns. I had a blessing way, but it was with new friends. Some of them are my close friends still up here, but it was with new friends that I'd made up here. I reckon half of the people in my blessing way I don't even speak to anymore because all of my Sydney friends could not make the trip up. They couldn't break lockdown. They couldn't break curfew or whatever the fuck we called it. And so I didn't actually get the blessing way I wanted. With the people that I wanted to be there, my key people, I didn't get to go on a baby moon with Trent. We didn't get to go away at all and have our last trip, just the two of us after 13 years of being together. I mean, we had lots of trips solo, but it was all that stuff that I didn't really process at the time. And then after the fact, I was like, you know what? That was a really shitty thing to be put through when I had to transfer into hospital for birth. Our doula and private midwife were not allowed to come into that hospital with us. And so I was transferred into this room with midwives that I'd just been in labor for 40 plus hours and they knew nothing about that. And we couldn't actually have that continuity of care that we paid for because they weren't allowed to come into the hospital room with me, even though they'd been with me for the past 3 days. Like I'm talking ludicrous stuff. One of the biggest reasons that my little girl's weight went undetected when it came to her not gaining weight and my inability to breastfeed was that there were so many lockdowns that we couldn't even have the lactation people come and visit us at our home. And so and then the floods happened. Oh, that's right. And then the fucking floods happened. And we didn't have her specialty formula and I couldn't feed her. And where was the government to help us then? I have very, very close friends who orchestrated the rescue of people in those floods and did it themselves with no government help. And I can hand on heart say that they were nowhere to be seen. And that's when things started to get really dark, when I started to look into why Lismore? Why did they target that? Oh, what are 15-minute cities? Interesting. Anyway, I'm just going to plant that seed for you guys if any of you want to have a look at Operation 2030 and 15-minute cities. Do your own research. I don't want this episode to be about that. But the reason I'm giving you guys this context is this is everything that I've just kind of suppressed and witnessed, suppressed and witnessed, suppressed and witnessed. And collectively, there was a 50-50 split, I feel, at the time, maybe even like a 60-40 split, where there were so many of us that were too afraid to speak up. So we just like didn't say anything and just went along with the fuckery of that time because it was like a safety preservation thing. And now, when you get the whiff of that happening again, it's not just been for me. I know it's been for many of you because I've went on a rant in my Soulies group. It's like, no, this is not going to happen again. We are not taking away people's qualities of life for an additional agenda that's at play. I said this in the heart space on in our ceremony this week, which was, when has the government ever done a nationwide emergency announcement over the femicide rates in this country? When have they ever got on and said, we actually need to crack down on this? There are women being murdered in this country every day, every week. I don't think it's every day in this country, but absolutely SA'd, absolutely, the pedophilic activity, which in our country, it's not even per capita. We have the second highest rate of pedophilic activity in the world, not even per capita, in the world. Where are the nightly nationwide emergency announcements about that? And that's where I was getting so worked up. I was getting so angry. I'm like, oh my God. And I believe for me, Libra, I can see all sides of the story and I'm seeing all sides of this story. And I go, both parties suck. Like politicians overall, sorry if I doubt I have any politicians listening to me, but there's always a hidden agenda and I can just see it so clearly now. And that's when I went on my rant in the Soulies chat. So if you're in the Soulies thread, you'll know what I was talking about. I was giving like my live intuitive play-by-play of like, oh, this is what I feel they're going to say. They're going to say, let's band together like Australians do. It's the true blue Aussie way. Let's be real, the true blue Aussie way, inverted commas, is we're run by pedophilic white men who are all racist. That's the truth. And I'm just sick of taking this is so my Aries North Node sorry, Aquarius North Node in the eighth house. I'm like pre-warning for when my nodal return comes, but I'm sick of taking direction from these people. They're awful. Like I'm sick of it. So that's when I went on my little rant in the Soulies chat, which I knew at the time. I think I even said in the threads, I'm like, this is so Aries full moon activating. It was the day before the moon hit. I'm like, I'm finally speaking my truth. Like this feels great. Like I genuinely am at a place in my life where 2020 me is dead, like in the best way. Is that like RIP? She's risen, but like she went, she's gone. She's gone. I mean, the maiden me, it was the maiden me. So she's gone in lots of actual true ways. But a big part of that is like, I'm not afraid, as Eminem would say, to take a stand. Everybody come take my hand. And so that felt quite liberating for me to say, you know, you can agree with me or you cannot agree with me. And I actually don't care either way. I'm just speaking what I see and what I believe because that's literally my job in the world. That is why this podcast exists. That is why you guys listen to me, I feel, is to get my perspective on things. And I can't dilute my perspective on things anymore, especially when I see we're at this grand crescendo. We're at this like pressure cooker point. I think things have shifted, but at the time it felt like here we go. It's going to be like the warm up until the lockdown in a few weeks' time. So then we saw the announcement. It was very like, what was that? And I do feel I said it in the Solis group, like, oh, that was a red herring. Like that was very much a let's keep them distracted and let's say that we warned them. And then I just feel like something's going to go down with this new moon, or they'll try to. And this is where I'm joining the dots now, where I'm like, I wonder if they didn't expect such pushback because they didn't get it in 2020. But when you went on every single news site or any kind of independent media that was talking about that announcement, every single comment was like, we are not locking down. We are not doing this again, not on our watch. It's 2020 all over again. Like there was just so much pushback that I don't think they anticipated because they haven't had that before. And this is where Aquarius energy is at play. It's like the rise of the people, and governments respond to people, and enough people pushing back, governments actually do have to change. I feel like that's the point, right? Or a civil war happens, which I don't see that is going to happen in this country, but I feel like something like that could potentially happen over in the US for sure. It's giving civil war energy this week for sure. And so that's where I went, I wonder if they've had to rapidly pivot because the timelines are shifting and stretching so rapidly. Do I feel like we've had the end of that kind of like fuel shortage, potential to go into lockdown? I can't say for sure. Obviously, we already know, like based on the backlog of the last month or 6 weeks, there will be ripple effects in terms of a potential other financial crisis, like another global financial crisis or something of that kind, where it's not interest rates, although interest rates, I'm assuming we'll see soar, not necessarily soar, but rise, even when it comes to inflation. That's the word I was looking for. It was another in word, inflation. I don't think we're going to see the end of those things. Do I think that we'll be having some sort of encouragement to stay within our 15-minute zones? I think they'll try. I just don't think it'll cross the line. And I feel like it could have gone one of two ways, and timelines have shifted in our favor. But I'll eat my words. I mean, this week, astrologically, there is a lot of moving parts. So wait and see. Anyway, go back to me sending these voice notes. And I was passionate, I was fiery, I was Aries. I was like, I don't give a fuck. I was speaking it all out. I was like, yes, this is harmonizing my Libra moon. And then I woke up on the Thursday, which was the day of the Libra full moon, and had a niggle in my throat. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. My little girl has had a cold all week. I've obviously caught her cold. Now, she didn't have a fever when she had her cold. She literally just had a runny nose, a little bit of fatigue, and she bounced back in a few days. And I was like, okay, I'll just get her cold. Contextually, when it comes to my health, as much as I'm an inflamed girly and a chronically ill girly, I actually don't pick up bugs. Like it's more, I haven't had a flu or a like the last time I was sick was when I caught COVID, lol, the irony. A few years ago now, I've had it twice. And yeah, that I mean it's not been fun, but both those times I was living in the old house and was very chronically unwell anyway. But otherwise, I'm like pretty robust with my immune system, which is so wild, but I am. So I felt the little niggle in my throat and I went, oh, I've caught this off my little girl, and there's probably a throat upgrade happening after I spoke my truth last night. How cool. And then I started to feel like I was getting fevers, and I was like, oh, I could actually be sick. Now, at the time, I had been sniffing a new homeopathic for about a week. And the thing with homeopathy is you can get the symptom of something that you're clearing. Like I had that tonsillitis that time with the phosphorus, but I had the symptoms of tonsillitis, but I actually didn't get sick. I didn't get a fever. I wasn't exhausted. I just really, it was very, very painful to swallow for a few days. Whereas this was different. I was getting a fever. I'm like, this is not homeopathically induced. I'm sick. And so by the time it got to Thursday night, which is where the moon was reaching its peak, it had already reached its peak, I think at about 6 that night, but it was going to transit my moon. Oh no, it was 1 o'clock in the afternoon it reached its peak. And that's when my fevers kind of subtly started. But it was going to cross my moon at 1:30 in the morning around then. And so I went to bed at like 6 o'clock on the Thursday, and it was the Easter long weekend, and I had the chills, shakes, aches. I was like, wow, this is like not okay. And I woke up at 1 o'clock in the morning, right before the moon was transiting my personal moon, in fevers that I have never experienced before. Like the shakes, the aches and the pains, the hot, cold flushes. I had to go downstairs, put the aircon on, lay on the couch. Trent heard me up and about, and then he came out, and then I just cried. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so unwell. Like this is fucked. So I took a homeopathic gelsemium, by the way, for that kind of those kind of symptoms, which did a little bit. It didn't do too much. And then at the same time, Libra Moon me is going, oh no, I've got a client at 8 in the morning. I'll feel so bad to cancel on her. And what about my client on Saturday as well? I hate canceling on my clients last minute. So then I'm sitting in this silly, silly behavioral people pleasing, shouldn't even have been in my headspace. I should have just fired off an email and said, I'm so sorry, I'm sick. We're going to have to cancel. I'll get back to you when I'm better. But I was ruminating on the couch going, do I cancel? Don't I? Do I cancel? Don't I? I'll see how I feel in the morning when I wake up at 7 a.m. So I send my client, I'm kid you not, guys. So when I say like, I understand the people pleasing wound, like I get it. It's so deep in me. I sent an email to my client on the Friday for the Friday saying at by this point it was 2:30 in the morning, saying I was so sorry to do this. I might be sick. Oh my God. I may be unwell, and I'll let her know at 7 in the morning. Rather than giving myself a sleep in, just canceling it from the get-go, I'll let her know at 7 in the morning how I'm doing. And then it got to 7 in the morning, and I was just like, there is no way. I was still fevering. I was so unwell. I had this sinus pressure, and no, now I had sinusitis. So never had that before in my life. I thought I had. No, it was awful. The pain, I couldn't open my eyes because all of basically what happens is you catch a cold or a flu, but then you're not able to pass the mucus gross through. Like you can't blow your nose, you can't cough it up, like nothing's moving. And so it pulls in your sinuses behind your eyes. I couldn't open my eyes. I was like, oh my God, the pain I was in was close to labor pain, like that level. Like, and I have a very tolerable pain threshold. And I was like, what is happening here? I am being like worked. This moon is working me. And it was forcing me to look at the parts of me that still prioritize other people before myself, that doesn't want to let people down, that feels guilty for canceling last minute, that like the stories that I had to face off with. So I ended up rescheduling the client from the Friday until, wait for it, the Monday. Didn't cancel my Saturday client, still did that reading. My God, if you're listening, I was so sick. I just did it. Because also in my head, I'm like, but it's overwhelming if I have to push these clients back because I'm already at capacity. So it's better for me to just get them done. And so we were going to spend Easter with Cass and Jordan and the kids at their place. We were going to go to theirs on the Saturday, stay there the Sunday, and do the Easter egg hunt with the kids and have like adult time together. Adult time, that sounds like X-rated. We're literally just going to probably watch a movie. Like, sounded very explicit. And do a puzzle. We like to do puzzles. Anyway, and that was another thing. I felt so guilty. I was like, okay, maybe we'll just come out on the Sunday instead. Or maybe we'll just come out on the Sunday night. I kept pushing it back rather than saying, I can't do it. I'm so sick. And so it was really like these energy around canceling on people, being perceived as flaky, being perceived as the bad guy, being the rules I place on myself, where you have to show up on time and you have, like, I'm a business owner. This is my reputation. It's like I've never cancelled being sick, like a reading because I'm sick ever before until now. So then we also had to obviously do Easter at home. And then I felt the guilt around my little girl, and she was fine. Like the Easter bunny came, she had the best time ever. I felt guilty for Trenny, not him having to be like in full dad mode. And actually, silver lining was he was able to be home over that long weekend, because if it was any other time, I would have had to parent through it. And so what happened, which was fascinating, was the sinus pain stayed all Friday, to the point where I sent Trent out to a service station close by because it was Good Friday, everything was closed. And he was able to get some Sudafed, which frick, that helped. I usually don't like to take anything to suppress the symptom, because I know usually with our bodies, it just wants to move the symptom through. I'm also a bit of a martyr like that. I'm also a bit of a hero. I know it's not great all the time. Like when I had all my histamine stuff, I was such a martyr for so long, being like, I don't take antihistamines. And then it was like, oh my God, Zyrtec is my saving grace, when I'm in a flare. So similarly, I just had to meet myself in the righteousness and go, Holly, take the Sudafed. That bought me a day. And then when it came to Friday night, oh no, it was Saturday night, I spoke to my guides. I was like, okay, I am aware I'm going through a throat upgrade because I just spoke a lot of my truths and I spoke a lot of anger out, and hence a sore throat. I'm also aware that there's something going on with my third eye and my crown, because there's all of this pressure and there's all of this gunk that wants to be cleared out. Whatever I've picked up on psychically, it wants to move, it can't move. And so I was aware that, yes, this was physical, but it more so was energetic, because my daughter had a cold. She did not have what I had. Trent didn't even catch the cold. Like Trent, to this day, touch wood, he's totally fine. But for me, I went down. And then that's when I know there's something more to this. And so before I went to sleep on Saturday night, I spoke to my guides and I said, hey guys, I would love to have illuminated in my sleep tonight anything that needs to be worked through so that I can start to move this mucus through. Because I knew in the back of my mind, the only time I'd witnessed sinusitis was actually taking a friend of mine to the hospital because it got so bad. And so I knew it could get bad, like it can become quite an infection if you don't start to move it through. And I also knew it was the Easter long weekend. So it was actually kind of like GPs and places are closed. So I spoke to the guides and I said, you just need to show me, what do I need to work on? What do I need to look at? Like the moon was lingering. What are the lessons? I've spoken my truth here. Maybe I didn't need to go so hard. But I feel liberated. So I'm not, I don't feel like I'm wronging myself for that. I can see there are people pleasing patterns still at play when it comes to my work and even my friendships. What do I need to move? And then I went to sleep and I had a dream. Oh my gosh, this dream. When you have dreams that they're not actually dreams, it's like a proper visitation. So in the dream, my teacher Gemma from the lineage of the seven rays, who I've been training under for almost 8 years now, came to me, and she said this in trainings before, where she's like, sometimes people will say I visited them in dreams and did healings on them. She's like, I'm not aware that I do it, but she's like, I know that I do because people tell me. I've never had a dream about Gem before until that night. She came to me in the dream, and in the dream, we were working on my mesa. Now, if you don't know what a mesa is, it's a sacred bundle that we are initiated into to carry through the lineage of the seven rays that we work with. And now the mesa, you may have seen it. I took it with me on tour with East Forest. I don't know if I share it often in my stories, but it's this beautiful folded bundle, and it's, sacred cloth from the Andes. And each of the portals of the north, south, east, and west are represented in that bundle by sacred objects that we find as we study. And they are programmed with the frequencies of our guardians and our guides. So I was sleeping with my mesa in my bed as I was unwell. And I do that. I use my mesa when I have night terrors. I'll bring it in. Night terrors, that sounds so dramatic. I have had night visitations lately where I've brought my mesa in. Similarly, when I'm sick or when I feel just like I need to move something through, I'll sleep with my mesa in my bed with me. When I travel, I bring my mesa with me. It's a portable altar. So in the dream, Jem came through, we were working on my mesa and we were working on the chakras within the mesa, which we've never been taught to do. And I don't even know if that's a thing, but it makes sense to me because the lineage I'm trained under is the seven rays, the lineage of the seven rays, as in the seven rays of a rainbow, as in the colors of the chakras, right? So in the dream, we were working on the mesa and we had already made offerings to the lower chakras, the base, the sacral, and the solar plexus. And then we got to the point in the dream where I kind of merged with the mesa and disappeared for a bit. I just, in the dream, I was in the mesa and like time didn't exist. And then I kind of came out of it. That was me coming out of it. I went, shh, came out of the mesa. And all of a sudden, the top chakras were done from the heart up. And I looked to Jem and I said, when did we do? I don't remember doing that. I just remember doing the lower chakras. And she's like, yeah, because you merged with the mesa and now it's all complete. And I remember witnessing it in the dream going, okay, I've just needed to, my lower chakras have been activated in whatever way and they are integrated. And for whatever reason, my upper chakras haven't been. And that's what this sickness is doing for me. It's bringing me back into congruence with my full energy centers. So in the dream, I remember being like, this is really cool. I wake up from the dream and it's like 4:30 in the morning and I feel this lump in my throat and it's like thick and like tar. I'm like, oh, this is like, I need to kind of like cough this up. And so I practically gag to bring up this like 20-cent coin mass that's made up of, and this is like trigger warning, it's gross. It's made up of mucus, like fresh mucus, old mucus, tissue, like a little bit of blood. I'm laughing because that was so bizarre. And this black looking tar stuff. And I put it in my tissue and I was like, what the fuck is that? And then the sore throat was gone and my nose started running. And from that moment, I was able to blow. I'm still coughing stuff up like it's been over a week now. I'm still coughing stuff up and blowing my nose. It's not yellow anymore. But it was this plug that had, I looked up the actual, like the physical reason of like what this thing was, because I was like, should I be concerned? But it's actually when you have postnasal drip, what can happen is when you're lying down, especially, it pulls in the back of your throat and just kind of like calcifies there almost and becomes like a mass. That's what happens. And that had been happening. And then I have the dream, clear the upper chakras, cough it out, and then everything was flowing. I showed Trent, by the way. Trent, I had to show him. I'm like, babe, you have to see this. He's like, what the? It's like, is that your brain? I'm like, no. But it was very profound. And so that's when I was like, okay, I really just need to ride this out. This was on the Easter Sunday. I resurrected alongside Jesus. And I went, I've just got to ride this out. I just need to rest. I can't take the piss. I still saw the client on the Monday that I rescheduled from the Friday. But every time, like I saw the client on the Saturday, I had fevers the whole time. Saw the client on the Monday, fevers. And I was like, okay, Holly, you just need to pay attention. It's okay to cancel. That was when I rescheduled my podcast again. I kept putting it off because I'm like, oh, I'll just do the podcast about the dream. It's like, I actually can't. I really need to pay attention. Like that's what this moon activation was giving me, is like in every crevice, in every edge, in every corner of my life, that I'm still overriding my own needs for other people. Because this is what Aries energy is. It's what do you want? What do you need? What do you desire? And Libra, the opposite sign of Aries, we know what everyone else wants, but we get confused with what we want. And I think that this is what was recalibrating in my own field, is like, I know what everyone else wants from me. I know my energy makes everyone else feel good. I know people are missing the podcast. I know my clients have spent good money on seeing me. I don't want to cancel. And so every time I have that thought, I'm overriding, yeah, but Holly, you're really sick. Yeah, but Holly, you need to rest. It's like, oh, because my needs come second. And I did a lot of sitting and a lot of lying down, a lot of just contemplation, and I was just being shown Libra being a relationship sign, like all of the relationships in every area of my life where I have overridden my own needs. I am someone who is very generous. I'm a Leo sun through and through. And I'm also all that Virgo, which is I'll be of service, I'll be of service, I'll be of service. But the South Node in Leo in me is to my detriment. I'm generous to a fault, and I know I am. I give so much time. I give so much energy to everyone in my life, whether you're an acquaintance, whether you are the closest person to me. I give my energy in spades, and I am not ashamed of doing that. Like I'm proud that that is the kind of person that I am. That's the kind of heart I have. But what's really been illuminated to me is like, at what cost, Holly? And I cannot have it at a cost to my health. And this is a lesson that I continuously learn. And it's one of those spiral moments where I just need to rein it in even tighter. Something that I've been really reflecting on, and I did share this in the heart space ceremony, is like being in this spectrum right now of relationships, being like the Libra axes of relationship with other, and Aries being about themselves. It's like, how can I be more selfish, and not wrong myself or guilt myself? It's not wronging myself, it's guilting myself for choosing my wants and my needs and my desires. And, you know, um, it's it's another level of needing, feeling like it's okay to be perceived as the bitch, or the uh, not even the bitch. Although I feel like people would, I'm talking things like if I leave a DM unread, or if I don't answer a question in my messages. Like that is a big leak. I know I've spoken about it before. It's those things where I actually hold a lot of guilt if I don't get back to the person. And then I wonder if they're judging me and what do they think of me. And it's like, oh my fucking God, that's so exhausting. I can't handle it. I just cannot do it anymore. So I'm really needing to, the exercise in my first book, The Keys to the Home, I need to revisit that. Like, who has access to my front door? Who has access to my garden? Who doesn't even know where I live? Because I think it's the boundaries have become a little bit looser. And I did actually ask my guides to show me over the last week who are the people that really see me, because that's a really important thing when you're a Leo. You want to be seen, and when you're a projector, you want to be seen, recognized, acknowledged. And who are the people that maybe actually just they want to be close to me because they feel good when they get my energy. But what are they actually there for me when I have nothing to give? It's that kind of pattern. And I've been illuminated that in the past week. Absolutely, I've seen very clearly. I've had beautiful friends that I've known from day dot, like they've got me, like checking in, seeing if I need anything. Can they send me a meal? Can they cook for me? I've had beautiful, beautiful outreach from my core people. Like I haven't felt let down from a single one of them. Like every single one of them has checked in and shown up for me. But then there have been like, and some clients and listeners as well have like done that, which has just been really beautiful. And at the same time, there has been like, and new friends too, actually, where I'm like, okay, like it's less being shown who isn't there and more being shown who is there. And it's like, okay, these people are the people that get that generous heart from me, that get the overgiver in me, because it's not going to come at a cost to anything, right? That's what I've been sitting with. So there was something else on that. Actually, the wants, needs, and desire thing feels quite pertinent in the lead up to this new moon. And I can go more into how smart did I sound using the word pertinent in that sentence, by the way? I was like, fucking yes, Holly, what a word. Um, um, we've got the new moon. We've got 7 planets in Aries, the tail end of this week, 17th, 18th, 19th. I'll get into full detail about that on Wednesday, because it's a big week. It is a big week cosmically, like 7 planets in Aries, the god of war, aggression, but also action, doing, being out in the world. Like, depending on where Aries falls in your chart, for me, it's work, like career. It's actually, it's some powerful energy. It's not necessarily bad energy. It's powerful, and it's how do we use it? And I think something we can all take away from this is Aries is about your needs, your wants, and your desires. So if you were particularly worked by that Libra full moon, or if you do have strong Libra placements, getting clear on your needs, your wants, and your desires under that Aries new moon energy, and then acting on those would be so fucking powerful, so liberating. So it's definitely something that I will do, because, and let's look at the difference between the three. Our needs are survival needs, right? We need fresh air, filtered water, money, whatever your financial needs are. fresh produce, like all of these needs that get clear on those to start with. And then you go into your wants. Okay, on top of those needs, what do you want? What do you want to feel in your days? What do you want to feel in your relationships? I like to lean on feelings in the wants, but you can get more specific with actual things. And then your desires are like, okay, manifest, manifest, baby. Where are we going from here? Like when you're doing your Dr. Joe Medis, of which I did so many. Oh my God, I found a new one. I'll put it in the Solis group. I found a start your morning with this one, 20 minutes. I've been doing it every morning. Wait till I tell you what I've manifested. So you see the difference between your needs, wants, desires. If you can sit down and do that in the lead up to this new moon or even in the shadow of the new moon, talk about some witchcraft there. We love this. So this Dr. Joe Medi, I'm in two minds. I'm like, is it AI pretending to be Dr. Joe's voice? Could be. That said, it's still working. So I'm indifferent to that. I don't know if that's morally inept of me. Inept, not the word. Anyway, it's a 20-minute meditation on Spotify that start your morning with this and watch the miracles come in. And I've been doing it since I've been unwell. And while I was sick and really down and out, and you know, when you get sick, you get depressed. I don't know if you guys do, but I sure do. And apparently it is an autistic thing that you can go into an autistic shutdown off the back of physical illness, which I definitely did. I was just like numbing, scrolling. I got to the end of the reels. It was like, we have nothing else to show you. And I was like, oh my God, like I was sick of watching TV. I was sick of scrolling. I didn't have the mental capacity to read. I didn't want to sleep. I was done with meditating. Like I was just like low for a few days there. And Cass was like, Hol, you know you're going to rise from this. Something massive is coming. Like you're just being worked because there's something on the other side. And I was like, woe is me. No, I can't feel it. I just want to feel my energy back, which I have felt in spades, returning. Sure enough, the first day I leave the house in 10 days, because remember, my little girl was sick for 3 days. So we didn't leave the house in those days. And then there was the week I was unwell. So I didn't leave the house in 10 days. I bed rotted. It was, even for a homebody, it was not, I just like, get me out. So the first day I left the house with my little girl, I was like, okay, there's energy coming back. It was Wednesday this week, midweek. And I started to feel myself. And I was like, oh my God, like I was dancing to my music in the kitchen and like, life is amazing. Life is beautiful. Like, I don't care if we're on a lockdown. I've got my energy back. I was like, I don't care. Whatever comes, life is magic. I get a message from Loco Love. Hi, Holly. We're just wondering if you would be able to get to Sydney next week. We'd love to invite you as a guest of ours to Pamela Anderson. Oh my God, guys, I cannot tell you how hard I have Dr. Joe'd this since I knew she was coming. I was like, I'm a guest, I'm there, I'm meeting her, I'm running cacao for her. Like I've manifested hard in my Dr. Joe Medis. And sure enough, the first day I'm emerging from this sickness where I'm recalibrating my energy, I'm bringing my energy back to me. I'm like chopping off any bloody energy vampires. Like it's some like martial arts shit going down energetically over here. The invitation, which is projector success, right? Wait for the invitation, the aligned invitation. So I will be heading down to Sydney. You can't make this up. The day before the Aries new moon, which is on my MC, which is your career and public image point in your chart. Oh, I need to tell you guys something about that actually. But I'm going down to Sydney to see Pamela Anderson. There's a VIP event beforehand that I've also been invited to from Vogue. Like, guys, the caliber of people in that room for me is something that, like, keep in mind, I am a psychic. I'm a psychic. I'm a cacao ceremonialist. Yes, I'm a podcast host. I'm a spiritual podcast host. I have 16,500 followers. I am not a big influencer by any stretch. And I've been invited from these brands and this platform of Vogue to be in the room with Pamela Anderson. It's surreal. I'm bringing my best friend Leah. I was given a +1. So I'm going down and staying with her. I'm going to go shopping for a look because it's a Vogue event, guys. Like, what? I'm like, oh my God, my spell dress. Probably would cut it, but no. I've got some backup options, but I'm going to go all out. I really am going to just step in as the Leo that I am. That's really something else that was calibrated over this this period was like, my energy is mine and I get to enjoy it first. And so I'm going to cultivate that energy when I'm down in Sydney and like dress up, be fancy, take up space, be shiny, be in that room, maybe ask her a question. Like I was already thinking like if we get Q&A time with her, I'd love to ask her like whether she follows astrology and what her favorite parts of her chart are, because I know that she's a Cancer sun. She's also an Aries moon. And so the Aries moon is going to be exacting her moon when she does the Melbourne event on the Friday, which is crazy. And she's a Gemini rising, like me. So I would love to ask her an astrology question. That's my stretch target. If I'm able to do that, I will. Um, and so this is the Phoenix rising moment, right? This is the I get knocked down, chumpawampa, but I get up again. You're never going to keep me down. And the other thing I was going to say is I can't tell you who. I can't tell you who, just because I need to play it a bit cool. But one of the big, this is going to sound like I'm exaggerating, but I'm not. One of the biggest celebrities in the world at the moment followed me on Instagram after I DM'd them about a Dr. Joe Medi 2 weeks ago. So if anything, it's like right now, especially with all this Aries energy, be audacious, DM the celebrities, suggest the Dr. Joe Medis, slide into the DMs. Because, hey, did I not do an episode on celebrity DM sliding a year ago? It's a different celebrity, but stuff's happening, guys. Stuff's happening. So there's been plenty moving behind the scenes. I'm back, baby. I'm back. I'll be back in your ears on Wednesday to talk through all things what's actually coming. Yeah, and I'll do that before I jet off to Sydney. I'm only going for a quick, short trip. The event is on the Thursday night, and then I'm spending Friday, and then I'm coming back the Saturday. And I'm so excited. Obviously, that will be next week's app. I'll talk you guys through it. And I think that's all. It's good to be back. I love you all so much. And I'll be back in your ears midweek.